Hello there, people of the internet. Now, I'm here to bring you yet another video involving 7.62 by 39 and the 5.56. Now, I am just discussing these rounds, what they're capable of, a little bit of history behind them. I'm just talking about them. I am not picking sides here. The gun community is very, very touchy whenever it comes to what they like and what they don't like. So each of these has their own value. I'm just going to talk about them. There are videos about the 5.56 and 7.62 by 39 that are just absolutely flooding the internet. So I figured I'd go ahead and throw my net out there and just see what sort of results I get, what sort of reactions I get. So I'm going to be discussing our 5.56 here first. Now, the 5.56 was, well, it was developed by Remington. They started development in 1957, but it wasn't officially adopted until about 1963. A little backstory with this right here. After World War II, all of the Allied nations decided to themselves that they should have a generalized universal cartridge in case they ever had to help each other out. So it is because of this idea of having a generalized cartridge or a generalized bullet that's basically all the Allied nations would have in the case of another great war that the 308 or 7.62 by 51 NATO came out. And it is, well, the United States decided to themselves that the 7.62 by 51 was not really what they wanted. The United States wanted a lighter, faster bullet, and that's whenever they started development on this. The United States was very pig-headed about this, and they refused, beyond all reasonable doubt, to give up basically their cause for it. So this right here is a much lighter bullet in terms of the 7.62 by 39. This right here typically runs from 55 to 62 grains or so, give or take, with a velocity of about 2,500 feet per second, depending on your bullet and, your company, the charging, the weight of the bullet itself, the barrel length. There's a lot of factors that go in there, but typically around 2,500 feet per second. It was designed for lightweight, but still being accurate at long ranges. The accepted military range for this thing is 500 yards, but any decent shooter will tell you that it has way more capabilities at far longer ranges. So, something that I do want to bring up, since I do have a steel-cased 5.56 right here, is running a steel-cased 5.56 in an AR-15 platform it's always been kind of sketchy. Now, before I start getting hammered by all of your AR-15 fans out there, I am only talking about in comparison to the AK-47 whenever it comes to cheap garbage ammo. The steel-cased 5.56 typically runs really well in an AR platform that has a 16-inch barrel. However, whenever you start shortening the barrel on the AR platform, you start having sometimes some significant feeding issues whenever it comes to the steel case. That's not always the case now. There's a lot of different varying factors whenever it comes to running steel case 5.56 in an AR platform. But I'm saying, in general, as long as you're using a 16-inch barrel, you should have no problems whatsoever. However, the AK-47 steel case, it doesn't really matter the length of your barrel because it operates on a gas piston system versus this right here, which doesn't have a piston. But the AK typically runs the steel case a little bit better, despite the length of the barrel. Now, like I said, there's a lot of determining factors. I mean, the condition of your gun, is a determining factor. But in general, the AK runs steel case better than the AR in terms of reliability. But I don't want to start getting into that horrifying mishmash of all sorts of fighting and whatnot to come along. Anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and start getting into this bullet right here. This bullet right here doesn't scare me, but the people who are diehard for this bullet scare me. So the 7.62 by 39 was obviously developed by Russia, and the Russians got the idea from the Germans who developed the 8mm by 33 or 8mm Kurz, which was used in the Sturmgewehr 44 and along with previous models like the MP44, but that's all just political nonsense. But the Sturmgewehr 44 used the 8mm Kurz, and Kalashnikov actually helped with the development of the Sturmgewehr rifle. And that's where Kalashnikov got the idea of making the AK-47. But that's a whole other story that, I might go into later on whenever I talk about the history of the AK. But right now I'm talking about the ammunition. The actual bullet weight for the AK round is about twice as heavy as the 223 round. This means that in shorter distance, it has a lot more impact force. This right here will do a lot more damage at 50 yards than this thing right here ever will. However, if you're shooting at like, I don't know, 800 yards, you have a lot better chance of hitting your target with this thing than you do with this right here. Just because of the weight of the bullet, this right here would have a much more significant drop as it goes out to longer distances, which is fine. During its development, Russia only intended it to be used in 400 yards or less. Now, the 7.62 by 39 is the 7.62 by 54 rimmed cartridge was its predecessor. It was originally used in the Mosin Nagant, but then during World War II, the Soviets developed the SVT, which also used the 7.62 by 54 rimmed cartridge. However, at this time, it was really being decided that rimmed cartridges were obsolete. They just did not function well in a self-loading rifle. Because they did not function well, these rifles oftentimes, they jammed, they had reliability issues, they were causing a lot of issues. Not only that, but although these cartridges, which were ludicrously massive, were usable out to 2,000, 3,000 plus yards, combat wasn't taking place at those distances. And Russia knew that. They needed a smaller, non-rimmed cartridge. Let me just throw my bullets around here. Russia needed a smaller, non-rimmed cartridge to take place in actual battle standards, or actual battle distances, which is why they intended it to be used at 400 or less yards. Now, without the rim there, it could be loaded into semi-automatic rifles far easier than a rimmed cartridge. Although this isn't really a part of the discussion, the SKS was kind of the bridge, the connecting rifle between the SVD finding the the 7.62 by 54 rimmed cartridge to the AK-47. The SKS kind of bridged that gap there. And the SKS used the 7.62 by 39 cartridge versus the larger 54 rimmed cartridge. There were a few reasons why Russia chose to implement the SKS rifle, although they already had the AK rifle pretty much on the back burner. They knew it was coming along. The SKS rifle was already developed, already proven, and in a lot of ways, it was the testing ground for the 7.62 by 39 cartridge. With the development of the 7.62 by 39 cartridge, in terms of the AK-47's use, the AK-47 took several years to actually get going. At first, they were trying to make a stamped receiver AK line, which didn't pan out, so they made a milled receiver AK line, which kind of did pan out, but defeated the purpose of having a massively cheap, able to produce easy rifle. So it took a lot of development, which is why the SKS really became Russia's go-to for a little while. It wasn't anything too significant. But here we go. I've told you guys a little bit about these bullets, a little bit of history. 55 grain, typically 123 grain or so. Good for long range, good for close range. Intended or accepted at 500 yards, but very much capable to do much further. This right here was intended for 400 yards, but I mean, I've seen people accurately, quote unquote, accurately shoot up to 800-900 yards with these. I'd say no problem, but it's a lot easier with your 5.56 just because it's a much more flat shooting projectile. However, if you want to do any significant damage, your AK round is the way to go. So each has their perks, each has their cons, pros and cons. Much lighter, much faster. You can carry a lot more of this in terms of weight ratio to the 7.62 by 39. However, if you really got to punch through something, this right here is the way to go. Anyway, let me know you guys' opinion or anything else that you want to add or anything else that you want to see. I normally do gun videos. I don't do ammunition videos very often, but it's dark outside, so I can't really do a gun video. I haven't posted anything in a while, and I just so happen to have this ammo laying around. So I decided to make a little ammunition video for the internet. I have no idea how the video quality on this is gonna be because this GoPro doesn't have a screen on it, but I hope I did all right. Let me know what you guys think. I'll be enjoying these things probably tomorrow. Anyway, you guys have a nice day.